Indian groups were united in their anger. Thousands turned out for protest marches and demonstrations in a number of cities. An estimated 5,000, that's 1/7 of Alberta's status Indians, marched on the provincial legislature. And another 1,000 joined the National Indian Brotherhood demonstration on Parliament Hill.
The tone and atmosphere appeared spiritual.
To protect and nourish this land, which will always be our responsibility as long as there is a drum, a song, and Indian people.
The drums and chants are songs of Indian honor, and it's the largest demonstration so far in this constitutional fight for Aboriginal rights. It's brought Indian people from all parts of Canada to Parliament Hill. The strong message is the Indians have just begun to fight. They say the Prime Minister sold them out. To Trudeau, they were only bargaining chips in the negotiations with the provinces. The bitter feelings are not only felt among the leaders. In every corner of the large crowd there are resentment.
We really feel we've been betrayed.
These are men who fought in the last war. They still proudly wear the berets, ribbons, and medals, but it's clear they're not sure they got much in return.
It is a kick in the ass.
The clear message is everyone will continue the fight in any way they can.
It's important to me. It's important to him too.
The problems the native groups in the provinces and federal government had today were perhaps more because of their different traditions than different political beliefs.
Are you going to pray every morning in public?
Yes, sir.
Well, then, everybody should pray to his own God, and we will have a moment of meditation. Chief? Okay. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
At the outset, it looked as though native groups had made a major breakthrough. A draft agreement guaranteeing future meetings and a statement of principle of Aboriginal rights was presented. And it seemed a sure bet until the native organizations pushed for more.
We'd like to see in the accord the two following principles. The principle that there must be recognition of a land base for the Aboriginal peoples, and as well a principle dealing with fiscal arrangements.
The Aboriginal people of Canada have the rights to the land and water and to the resources thereof, which have served as basis for the self-sufficiency and the development of native community.
This document, Prime Minister, is not an accurate statement of what was agreed last evening, and I'm concerned that if we attempt around this table to begin to add and subtract, that we will lose what we agreed upon last night.
We have made a genuine beginning, a beginning that I think really bodes well for future deliberations.
Rennie Levesque said he couldn't sign on principle.
I say without any bitterness, we will not sign this accord.
It's pretty hard when you're dealing with the stubbornness of some of the provincial governments in terms of their provincial power bases, as they seem to think it really is in that sense. And you know, all our people want is their rightful place.
It's a beginning. We recognize the fact that provinces are very reluctant to agree to anything that they don't understand.
I would say to the Aboriginal people that they're doing pretty well, and I hope that they will continue and pick up speed.
For the two territories and the native groups, the most encouraging thing is that they're here.
Tell these guys, remind them what the hell they're dealing with here.
No, look, we're just going to make things worse. Come on, guys.
See what happens when they want to come into our territories now. No, he says there are going to be jobs for us. Yeah, sweeping a floor while some company from an international body takes billions
in our territories. This has got to stop, and we are going to take direct action on this government.
This is a start. This is only the start.
Well, to the latest now on the hunger strike by Attawapiskat Chief Teresa Spence. She is vowing not to eat again until at least next Friday, and that is the day the Prime Minister has agreed to meet with Aboriginal leaders to talk about treaty rights and economic development. Now, Spence has been on a hunger strike for nearly a month. She's consumed only liquids. She remains at a camp on Victoria Island, which is in the shadow of Parliament Hill. Now, Carolyn Bennett is the Liberal Party critic for Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development. She joins us now in our studio. And thank you for joining us today, Dr. Bennett.
It's great to be here.
Now, this government aside, there have been other attempts under Prime Minister Chretien, of which you were a part of that government. There was the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples. The Liberals were in power as recently as 1993 on to 2003, 2004. How has it been any different with this government than what was before it? You know, when you talk about resetting a relationship, we've had hundreds of years to reset this relationship, and we spent a lot of time talking about these issues, and still nothing has really happened, to the extent that Chief Spence is now on a hunger strike.
The Kelowna Accord was a high point, I think, for lots of people because it was a process. First Nations...
And that was the accord signed by former Prime Minister Paul Martin, of whose government you were a minister.
We have never admitted to ourselves that we were, and still are, a colonial power. You and I have talked about this. The mantra of the first settlers who came here was, everything we believe is good because we've got bigger guns, and everything you believe is bad, and you should get out, or you should stop believing the things that you believe. That's what we said to the first peoples. When that failed, we then introduced the residential schools. And the residential schools, when we took 10-year-old children away from their parents, and we said that they were not allowed to speak their language, learn their culture, and they didn't learn to become parents, and the effect was from generation to generation. And the last residential school only closed in 1993. But let's understand that the purpose of the residential school was not education, it was assimilation. And we continue that focus on assimilation.
For children who live with the midnight sun in their summer holidays, an explanation. A service begins each day. The school is conducted by the Church of England, though it's maintained, like other Indian schools, by the Federal Department of Indian Affairs. For the oldest Canadians, a new future.